Alright guys, today we are going to review text and graphic features. We've talked about this before this year, but we're going to do a review and make sure everyone is clear on what these features are, what kind of stories you're going to see text features like this, and also just remembering that authors will include these text and graphic features for a very specific reason. They're not there just because. They've been put there for a purpose. They've been put there to help you as a reader understand the information from the text a little better. So it's important we know what these features are and that we use them. So some of the graphic features we may see in nonfiction text. Remember, these kinds of features are found in nonfiction. The graphic features are the parts of the text like maps, diagrams, charts, pictures. Graphics are like anything that's a visual or an image that can help you out, okay? So like, for example, here we have a map. Authors a lot of times will include maps as graphic features in text to help explain the location of something or where something is. Text features that can be added in nonfiction text. Those are the parts of text such as titles, headings, or special fonts that the reader can examine to learn the information from the story a little easier. So, we're going to go ahead and watch a quick video that's going to review the different text features so that you guys can practice identifying them. And then you guys will have a little practice activity to show me that you can identify these important text and graphic features. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start the video. You guys pay close attention and listen as the teacher in the video explains the different text features that are found in this National Geographic book and what each feature's purpose is. How does each of the text features or graphic features help us as readers?
Right here, I'm going to talk about a National Geographic book, and right here it shows you the title page. You can see that the title of this story is Deadliest Animals, and it shows us a deadly animal. The next thing that we talk about is the table of contents. In the table of contents, it's going to give you some page numbers, and it's going to tell you some things that you can find on those page numbers, like scary snakes. Scary Snakes is on page 20. I could go to page 20 and I would be able to read all about Scary Snakes. Next we have our saltwater crocodiles, and that is a heading. That text and graphic feature that I'm talking about now is a heading. This whole page is going to be about saltwater crocodiles. On the next one, we have a hippo picture. But we've got some writing that's right next to that picture. And I know some of you know, think in your head, when there's writing in a box that's talking about a picture, what is that called? That's right, it's a caption. A caption tells you about an illustration or a photo and lets you know what's going on in that picture. If we go to the next one, it shows us a picture of a hippo, not an illustration, but a photograph. Sometimes in nonfiction books we have photographs rather than drawings. And that is a photograph, and you guys can point those out pretty easy. If we look at this next one, it's a picture of a scorpion. But it's not only a picture. When it's got a label on it, it becomes a diagram, and it is pointing to something there. I want you to read that label to yourself, and what does it say? That is a label, and it is telling you the part of the scorpion. On our next one, we've got our glossary. Now, we talked about a glossary and how if you don't know some of those important words in the story, you're always able to go to the back if it has a glossary and figure out what it means. It looks like this glossary even shows you a picture of that word. How helpful can that be to you if you don't know a word? I think that would be pretty awesome to use. On our next page, it shows us one of those key words. And the key word on here is a bold word. This bold word lets you know that this word is very important. It's a special word. It's going to be very important to this page. They could also be highlighted. They could also be in that fancy writing called italics. It just lets you know these words are really important. On the next part, we have a map. Now, not all nonfiction books have a map in them, but this one just happens to have a map. And it shows you the earth. And it even labels it on there for you. But that I just wanted to show you is a map, and it's showing you a map of the earth. The next one I wanted to show you is another diagram, but this one is got a lot more to it than our scorpion one did. This diagram is of the planets, and it shows you each planet, but then it also labels each planet to let you know which one is which. In a diagram, it's not just pictures. It also lets you know, hey, this one right here, this is Saturn. And it's got a label on it that says Saturn. If it didn't have that label, it would just be in either an illustration or a photograph. But since it does have that label, it becomes a diagram. Now, second graders, you have learned so much.
All right, guys, so now that we watched that reminder, and we've refreshed our memory about what some of these graphic and text features we can expect to see in nonfiction books are and how they help me as a reader, we're going to practice identifying these features in this short article. I'm going to model for you how this is going to work, and then you guys are going to have one to try on your own. So, as a reader who's about to tackle a nonfiction story or article, I need to use these text features to help me. And so before I start reading, I'm going to go ahead and scan and preview. The title says Pueblo Homes, and I notice there's headings, so I'm going to go ahead and read those. Building materials, appearance. I see some pictures down here, ancient pueblos, modern day pueblos, and there's a caption that says, can you identify some of the differences and similarities between ancient and modern day pueblos? So kind of scanning this information and studying these text features, I already have a pretty good idea that this story is going to teach me about a kind of home called a pueblo. So I'm going to be learning some information about pueblo homes as I read this article. So as we look at the features in this article, let's go ahead and label them. See if we can correctly label the different text features. We know up here on top, this bold, big bold words up here at the top are the title. That helps the reader know the topic or what the story is going to be about. So, Pueblo Homes, I already immediately know this is going to be some article about Pueblo Homes. I'm going to learn information or figure something out about Pueblo Homes as I read through this. So I'm going to go and take that one off. Okay, we know in articles like these, they're broken down into smaller sections a lot of the time, and each section has its own little heading or own little title, and those could be called headings or subheadings. It's the same thing. A heading and a subheading are basically the same thing. It's just a title for the individual sections of the text, because we know that the individual sections have different main ideas or focus on different topics. And so these subheadings, like building materials, those are important for me as a reader because I can read that and know that this part of the story is probably going to tell me about the materials they use to build Pueblo homes. So subheadings are an important text feature for the reader, and I should definitely take time to read those and study them and use them to help me make predictions as I read. Okay, this word right here, it's bold. You can see it's a little darker than the other words in the story, and it's underlined. So that tells me this is a key word. Just like in the video, she said those key words that are bold or maybe written in a different font or italics. That's letting the reader know, hey, this word is very important. And so as a reader, I need to really focus on that word, pay close attention to it, make sure I understand it as I read. Down here, we have two images. One of them is an illustration and one of them is a photograph. Now, what's the difference in an illustration and a photograph? An illustration is something that someone's drawn or painted or colored. It's something that you've created with some sort of art supplies. So if we look closely at these two pictures, we see that the one on the left is an illustration. You have to look really closely, but you can see that those are actually pencil strokes and shading, and this is an image that a person has drawn. So this is an illustration, whereas over here, if you look really closely at some of the detail, we see that this is a photograph. A photograph means it's been taken with a camera. So it's a real thing we've taken a picture with a camera or something. You'll find both illustrations and photographs in nonfiction text. Studying the pictures and photographs is an important thing for a reader to do. Don't skip pictures, don't skip photographs. You can learn a lot of important information by taking time to study the photographs and illustrations that are in nonfiction. And then, of course, down here at the bottom below our pictures and our illustrations and photographs, there's a caption. Remember, captions are really important. Reading the caption helps me understand more about the picture. And again, you should not skip captions. Take time to read those and study those, because you can usually find a lot of important details and information in the captions. Alright, so now that I've looked over my text features and I've used those as a reader to prepare myself to read this, I can read the article, and I'm going to get a lot more out of this article, and I'm going to learn the information easier if I use those text features the way the author means for them to be used. So, now that we've practiced doing that together, you guys have an article you're going to work on your own, okay? So here's the article, and you can easily see by a first glance there's lots of text and graphic features added. So you're going to have a page with different labels or the different features, and you're going to cut those labels out and correctly label our different text features found on this article. On the back side of your article, you have kind of a cheat sheet. So if you're having trouble remembering what the different text features are, you can look over on the back as kind of a reminder. But that is your task to do for now. When you're finished, just keep those handy, because we will look over those together and make sure we've all correctly labeled our different text features, and we'll discuss together how those different features are going to help us as readers before we read our article.